The universe is a star-dusted, wine-dark sea, so vast that light years feel like inches as they float in titanic flotillas in all directions, disappearing into the frosty frontiers of the inky outer gloom. From time to time, galaxies like schools of fiery fish swim past, suns and moons and neutron stars, frolicking, colliding, and exploding into sprays of cosmic dust and kaleidoscopic chromatic energy. These billions of stars and billions of collisions bob on our horizon, a fraction of a fraction of a fraction detectable through our pitiful looking glasses as we peer over the bow of our pale blue ship, wondering what gods and monsters await us in the icy Stygian deep. To us, this ship is huge, bursting at the seams, teeming with people jostling for room. But to the universe, our ship is but a microscopic pinprick on a plankton in a pocket of sea so small, we're outnumbered 1,000,000,000,000 by other pockets, other plankton, and perhaps other pricks. Hey there, welcome to That Dang Dad. My name is Phil, and tonight I'm finally going to air one of my pettiest and most inconsequential grievances. And yet, perhaps it is not as trivial as it may first appear. I want to talk about my least favorite science communication trope. And let me preface this by saying that I love science. I love to learn, to expand my horizons, and to explore the world around me at both the macro and micro level. As such, I think science communication is an underappreciated skill set. Being able to take the arcane and obscure and tell a useful story with it is hard, and now more than ever, it's extremely necessary to combat deadly irrational ideologies like anti-vax, anti-mask, and anti-climate justice beliefs. That's why it drives me absolutely bananas when I hear science shows or science commentary that goes like this. Wow, the universe is so big and the Earth is so small. From up in space, aren't our problems so minuscule in comparison to the universe? Doesn't this make our differences seem so absurd? Doesn't it give you a better perspective being so far away? Doesn't it just prove our lives are so insignificant?
When I was around the moon and I saw the Earth, I realized suddenly how insignificant we all are. Just tucked away in space around a rather normal...
I don't know about you, but I don't live in space. I live here on this chunk of dirt with everyone else, and guess what? There is very real suffering in the world because there are very critical differences between people that result in violence, alienation, and oppression. Yeah, if you zoom way out and look down on our little marble, you see that there's no borders. That doesn't actually help the migrants being abused in Europe and on America's southern border, which does exist.
For now...
My life, your neighbor's life, that refugee's life, and the lives of people that you will never meet in Bhutan and Vanuatu and Saskatoon, they're all significant. They matter. Now, I'm pretty sure I know why some science communicators talk this way. Astro Daddy Carl Sagan wrote a famous passage in response to an image of Earth that was taken by Voyager 1 approximately 4 billion miles away from the nearest Applebee's, and he says the following: "Look again at that dot. That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you've ever heard of, and every human being who ever was lived out their lives. The Earth is a very small stage in a vast cosmic arena. Think of the rivers of blood spilled by all those generals and emperors so that, in glory and triumph, they could become the momentary masters of a fraction of a dot. Think of the endless cruelties visited by the inhabitants of one corner of this pixel on the scarcely distinguishable inhabitants of some other corner, how frequent their misunderstandings, how eager they are to kill one another, how fervent their hatreds. Our posturings, our imagined self-importance, the delusion that we have some privileged position in the universe are challenged by this point of pale light. And yeah, I'm not being obtuse. I understand what Star Papa is trying to get across. That from a certain viewpoint it seems outrageous that we would torture, enslave, genocide our siblings for just a little bigger piece of this tiny island. It's valid. But I think the legacy of Sagan's pale blue dot passage has invited people to echo his idea of our cosmically tiny Earth in ways that can be helpful, or, to me personally, occasionally annoying. And lest you think I'm trying to cancel Carl Sagan, you should know that I snipped out a bunch of parts of his iconic passage, including what I think is his most critical point. He concludes with the following: "Our planet is a lonely speck in the great enveloping cosmic dark. In our obscurity, in all this vastness, there is no hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from ourselves. The Earth is the only world known so far to harbor life. There is nowhere else, at least in the near future, to which our species could migrate. Visit, yes. Settle, not yet. Like it or not, for the moment the Earth is where we make our stand." It has been said that astronomy is a humbling and character-building experience. There is perhaps no better demonstration of the folly of human conceits than this distant image of our tiny world. To me, it underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly with one another, and to preserve and cherish the pale blue dot, the only home we've ever known. Sagan never actually calls our lives or our problems or our suffering insignificant. In fact, he uses the vastness of space to explain exactly why our lives are very significant. As far as Sagan knew, and as far as we know here in 2020, there is no one else watching out for us in the physical universe ready to step in before we invade or pollute ourselves to death. We're all we have. Oxford University philosopher Guy Kahane puts it another way that gets a little closer to how I feel. He says, "If we are alone in the universe, then taken together, we humans may nevertheless be of immense cosmic significance. And the irony is that we might have this significance precisely because the surrounding universe is so cold and indifferent. If we possess great significance, we possess it precisely because there is no one else but us, and thus only when there is no one but us who can appreciate our significance. We may be center stage, but the theater's empty. If anything, this should be sobering. It is not a cause for elation, but a burden, a great responsibility. If we are alone in the universe, the only thing of value, then this gives our continuing existence and our efforts to avert disaster a cosmic urgency on top of whatever self-interested, anthropocentric reasons we have to stay around. That is to say, we might be far more important than we take ourselves to be. We humans are, after all, careless in numerous familiar ways. We fail to safeguard the future and we kick off pernicious habits. From a cosmic point of view, the problem wouldn't be that we suffer from an inflated sense of importance. It's that we don't take our existence seriously enough. And to be fair to many of the communicators who repeat the insignificance trope that I clipped or quoted above, I do believe that many were ultimately trying to make similar points, that our individual issues were dwarfed by the need to preserve the one planet that we all have to share together. So maybe this all comes down to semantics, I don't know. It just really steams my clams when I hear people look at a planet full of suffering, and because the human faces of that suffering have been shrunk down into invisible atoms, they say, well, gosh, isn't this also insignificant? Maybe it's because I have this sense that many of the horrors that we humans perpetrate against each other occur because we find faraway suffering insignificant, even from down here in the dirt with everyone else. Think of the absolute atrocities committed by Europeans against faraway indigenous people like the Taino in the Caribbean, or the Bakongo, the Wolof, the Igbo, or the Mande people of Africa, the Maori of Aotearoa. Think of the North American massacres of the Occaneechi, the Appalachee, the Timpanogos or the Sioux of the United States. Did you know that in the US, when you recycle plastic, a lot of it just gets dumped into Ghana and Uganda, Tanzania, South Africa, Ethiopia, Senegal, and Kenya, leaving them with horrible health and environmental consequences? Did you know that the cobalt in your mobile devices was likely harvested by dangerous child labor in the Congo? I argue that colonialism, exploitation, and racial capitalism all rely on us having a sense that suffering over there is insignificant. Capitalism relies on the existence of an underclass to exploit for profit, and those of us who get the scraps of that profit have been seduced with the idea that what happens over there is no big deal. That actually child labor is good because it feeds families. That actually Coca-Cola
Allegedly.
hiring death squads to kill labor organizers in Colombia is good because it keeps prices down for everyone. We have to believe this suffering is insignificant, otherwise it would radically alter our perception of ourselves as the good guys. And I think we should alter that perception. I think we need to grapple with the fact that the machinery of our modern, convenient world, particularly here in the United States, is oiled with the blood of others, past and present. And we can't start that reconciliation process until we choose to make suffering anywhere a rallying cry everywhere. I want to be clear. I don't think astronauts and science writers are actually saying that these specific things don't matter when viewed from space. And I'm sure they would be very heartbroken if they thought their words could be used to imply it. That's exactly why I want us to be a little more careful when we wax poetic about our place in the universe. Whether we are one of millions of intelligent beings in the cosmos, whether we are the sole spark of life in a cold, uncaring universe, you matter. Your joy matters. Your problems matter. Your suffering matters. You are significant, baby. Don't let anyone tell you different. So what do you think? Am I just being petty here, or do you also get tired of being called insignificant? Also, is this the first time you heard about Coca-Cola's
Alleged
involvement in labor organizer assassinations? Fucking crazy, huh? Chiquita did the same thing, and their corporate attorney later went on to become Barack Obama's attorney general. I guess it really is a small world. Anyway, please like this video, subscribe if you're excited to learn about other fruit company atrocities, and please share this video with someone that you think would find it enriching. I really appreciate you spending your time with me tonight, and I hope to see you again. Good night.